Welcome to the Spiritualpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, aka Love Pixel. And in each episode, we sit down with spiritual entrepreneurs sharing their knowledge, wisdom, and tools on their path to authentic success. Let's dive in. What's up, beautiful people? This is Christian from the Successful Spiritualpreneur Podcast. And today I'm super excited because we have a very special guest on the show. His name is David Brier, and he's a globally celebrated branding expert, keynote speaker, and best-selling author known for helping businesses rise above the noise. With over 45 years of experience, I'm going to stop here. 45 years of experience.
Exactly.
And more than 330 international awards, David has transformed startups, global enterprises, and even entire cities with his disruptive approach to branding and design. He is the author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, Brand Intervention, featuring a foreword by Shark Tank's Damon John, and has been featured in Forbes, Fast Company, and the New York Times. Recognized as one of the top branding minds in the world, David is known for turning brand confusion into clarity and complacency into competitive advantage. In this episode, we dive into bold strategies and creative insights, and as well as untold stories behind some of David's most game-changing brand transformation and his new book. Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you so much, Christian. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I think what I'm most curious about, I don't know if I need to hear much of your story because you just have, I don't even know. We're never gonna get out of your story with all this experience. So maybe just tell us about your new book. What is it about? What are you fired up about, and why this book?
Totally. So, well, the basic thing is that in 2017, when I wrote Brand Intervention, that was after hearing really the same questions and seeing the same mistakes, the same blind spots that business owners, CEOs, entrepreneurs were making. And the crazy thing about it was it didn't matter whether they were new startups, young in business, or had been in business for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. They seemed to have, just because they were so close to their baby, right? It's like to them it was everything was beautiful, it was great, it was this, that, and they just were sort of in a little bit of, they didn't have the objectivity. So I apply something I call passionate objectivity, passionate impartiality, actually. So I'm really passionate about it, but I'm also impartial. So if something's like really just, if it's really pretty, kind of like that doesn't work, that's not going to fly. Here's where you're missing. I brought that clarity. So that was Brand Intervention. Since then, I've seen there's something else that almost sits underneath that, which is, do you have the right culture in your business, whether you have a small business like a 2 or 5 person company, or you have a 50 or 1,000 person company, it doesn't matter. Do you have the right culture and mindset to really maintain and sustain your brand? And that's really what it's about. And to the extent of and it came down to 20 traits, and it's all based on a confidential internal memo from Nike from 1997, which just really set the stage, because Nike's a force of nature. It's like, it's a brand. It's so much, but it's so much more than selling sneakers or selling sports gear. And how does a company get to that point of being more than the stuff it makes or the stuff it provides?
Beautiful. And how would you say, what are, I mean, obviously there's 20 key points, right, about around that culture and what makes those brands different, but how would you say, since this is a spiritualpreneur podcast, like how does spirituality play into those culture, and how can we actually, how does humanness basically automatically contribute to this culture?
I love the question, and it 100% ties in. They're inseparable, to be honest with you. And just to give context for those that, so this is the book, and Claude Silver. For those that don't know Claude Silver has one of the biggest hearts, and is spiritual and sees people for people. And she's the first person in the world ever to be called the Chief Heart Officer. Right. And that was because she really is there. And I remember when she and I first met, she had something written on her light board, which is, what lights you up? That was literally her question to the people coming in because she would have meetings in her office. What lights you up? Just look at the framework of what that sets up as the kind of conversations you would have in her office. It's not like, all right, I'm here to see how you're doing on your performance. Performance is a reflection of something much deeper, as far as I'm concerned. And so I'll give you a perfect example. I'll give you a perfect example. Like there's a chapter in here, and and here's there's so much I can say, and I'm very excited about this, as you can probably tell. He's like he has more words coming out of his mouth than one thing. So here are the chapter titles, just some of them. The Power of Love. It's one of the chapters, right? Fanatical Intention. That's another chapter. There's reciprocation, the super glue that bonds. These are not the normal kind of things that you find in a book about branding and culture building, but this is one of the chapters, and every one of the chapter openers, I created artwork to reflect someone that set the stage. So this one is Billy Joel. This one says, "In a way, we are magicians. We are alchemists, sorcerers, and wizards. We are a very strange bunch, but there's great fun in being a wizard." Billy Joel. Okay, so that sets the stage for this. But because the type is this big, okay, that's how big the type is in the book. It's enormous. So I'll just read a couple of sentences and give you context because I think it will answer your question best. So this is one is on ideas have direction. There's one thing we all do. We each have ideas. Some ideas go inward. Some go in all directions. Others go outward. Ideas going outward, benefiting the most people, are the things worth feeding. Pay attention to the direction others offer you in the way of ideas. Some ideas are built on growth. Some are built on destruction, relying on the failure of others to win. Others are built on conservation, which is built on the idea that creation is a scarce commodity. That is false and destructive. Trust me. Anyway, you get the idea. Like that's the flavor of the book. And and here and at the end of every chapter, there's a rich brand and poor brand. It's like the rich brand does this, the poor brand does that. And I'll conclude with the rich brand knows the true power that results from the quality of ideas and how much they are shared outwardly, like handing out sunshine on a cloudy day. The more we extend outward, the more everyone feels the warmth.
Wow. Yeah, it's beautiful. I think it really shows you how brands, like the market, almost forces brands to wake up, and
It does.
become more conscious, more aware, more kind, more human, more. That's why personal brands are so successful in comparison to traditional brands because
Yeah.
they're authentic. They have to embody these values because as a person, you can only be inauthentic and fake for so long, you know?
And also it may not even be inauthentic and fake. It may be just the other part, which is strictly transactional. So there's no actual bond. There's no connection with your audience. And the greatest brands have a voice. They clearly stand for something. They clearly stand against something. And that the thing they're standing for is a set of values. You and I as individuals, we respond to values. We respond to something that's worth standing for. That enriches my life. That expands my purpose in living. And that's something that's, while incredibly powerful, you'll never find that. There's not a line item on a spreadsheet. And that's the thing I love about this. You won't find this on a spreadsheet. It's like, where are you going to find really elevates the basic sense of being of individuals? Where's that on a spreadsheet? You won't find it. But yet it's the thing that drives all the rest.
Yeah. I think that's also part of the reason why, here at Love Pixel, like our agency, like that is the core value. It's love. Like if you don't feel loved, like I recently gave a client a refund, not because the contract demanded it, just because if that's the right thing to do. You know what I mean? So that's the type of relationship that more and more people on the market will engage with because that's the right thing to do, you know?
Yeah.
So brands that are only transactional are bound to die at some point.
Yes, yes, and yeah, there's so much I could say about much of this, but I'll shut up and I'll let you ask your next question.
Yeah. So my next question would be like, how do you see, like, if brands don't like accept this shift in their own internal culture, they, I mean, it's a race towards the bottom.
100%. I mean, the bottom line is then it just becomes then the only metric you're dealing with is just either technical skill, which and technical skill is valuable. Don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like some years ago, I went on a field trip with a client, and we visited a number of sort of competing stores in the space, and their space was food and these markets and such like that. And we went to one in Vancouver. We were both blown away, not only by what they did visually and what they did in terms of brand messaging, but every one of the people we encountered looked at us, greeted us, genuinely said hi, and we were like, "What the hell? What's going on here, man? What are they drinking some special juice? What the heck?" I mean, everyone. It was just, and so we managed to run into the manager, and we said, "What is your training regimen that you have such a high caliber of human interaction between your people and customers?" And he said something fascinating that I've never forgotten. We only hire people that love people. We can teach them the rest. And that blew me away.
Yeah. That makes all the difference, you know? The return to being human.
That's right.
That's beautiful. So tell us, what do you how did you, transform brands with making them more human? Like, do you have a story that you help this brand in like more incorporate some of these intangible values? Like, when I went to business school, they obviously talk a lot about the, human capital, et cetera, et cetera. And I was thinking to myself, sitting in the chair, I was like, what if all businesses wouldn't measure productivity but would measure humanity?
Yeah.
Like, how human are you on the phone? How human are you in the email? Like, that stuff is that's yeah, that's invaluable.
It's completely invaluable. It really comes down to me to something that probably isn't talked about enough. It really is the difference between consumption versus creativity. We live in an age where there's a high inclination toward consuming, like where we'll very easily, much of the culture will very easily they'll listen to a podcast, they'll watch a YouTube video, they'll read something, they'll go onto Instagram or whatever, and it's consuming, consuming, consuming. I would challenge anyone listening to this, and any CEO, any business owner, business leader, anyone who has a mission and purpose, every day replace one activity where you like almost there's a habit. You know what? I'm going to watch and take that little 15-minute, that 25-minute window, and instead of consuming, replace it with creating. Instead of reading something that someone else wrote, how about you write something? Instead of watching a video, how about you actually record a video? Instead of sitting and admiring someone else's creation or output or content, how about you generate some content? And you could even take it farther. Instead of going to the nicest place to eat where you can be serviced well, how about you find some place that you can service another well? You know, we need to flip this consumption versus creation on its head. And I can guarantee if someone did that for 30 days, literally just a swap out, go, oh man, I know I was going to spend I was going to take a little lunch break and I was going to watch a blah, blah, blah. Good. What can you create during that time? And if you did that for 30 days, I guarantee your life would not even resemble what it was 30 days ago. All of a sudden you'd feel more alive. People would probably like being around you a heck of a lot more. You would be considered more valuable. and your morale would be elevated. Those are just those, but that is the difference. We need to shift from consumption to creation.
Yeah. And I think the best news for the entire audience here is that since you are being a person or a personal brand, at some point when you step up into being a personal brand, but you're a personal brand already, whether you think you are that or not. But the best news for you is that you are already human. You don't need to like come back from being corporate to being human. You are already human. So just share what is within and give it to the world, because that's what the world asks for.
Yeah, yeah. I once had a funny conversation. Someone had said, I don't really think that I have a brand. And they said it with a straight face. They really were like, I just don't think I have a brand. And I said, you know what? You have a brand whether you like it or not. If you don't think you do, that just means you're unaware of it, and you're probably ignoring it, and you're not refining it. You're not perfecting it. You're not growing it. But unawareness doesn't equal non-existence. Just because we're unaware of something doesn't mean, oh, it's not real. No, it means you're unaware. So unawareness does not equate to non-existence.
Yeah. So let me ask you the same question that Claude Silva asks the people that she deals with. What lights you up?
Igniting that spark in others. That's what lights me up. I mean, and it's something that I've done and become more aware of over the course of living in my career. And you get me in a room, I will ignite every freaking soul in that room. I mean, it's something that I have worked on. It's something I can do because I know for certain me standing up and talking and saying smart, insightful, useful ideas isn't important. It's what happens to the people sitting in those chairs that's what's important. And even though I might be talking when I'm talking, the thing that I'm looking at is what is happening in this room as I am speaking. Either it is transforming and elevating and freeing and liberating, or it's not. So I'm not so drunk on my own Kool-Aid that, oh man, I'll just show up and whatever I say is going to just it's like, I'm not, that would be naive to think that. And I went through that. I mean, I think every one of us at the start of our career, to one extent or another, there's the idea like, hey, we're like the thing that the world's been missing, and we're just going to show up, and it's all going to be, and just that there may be some truth in that, but there's also a lack of experience to have the judgment and maturity, because I used to think like, did you go to you said you went to business school? Did you also go to art and design school as well, or was it just business?
That was all self-taught, the design part, because I later on became a designer and then started my agency, but all the design was, yeah, self-taught.
Okay. So here's the interesting thing with regard to, so I went to community college and I went to School of Visual Arts in Manhattan. And the thing that we were taught, what are we taught? We're taught, learn about fonts and learn about colors and learn about imagery and learn about the layout and learn about all these various different bits and pieces and certain brand elements and colors, etc. Okay. And then what do they teach you? It's like put together your portfolio so that you can go out there and then show your portfolio. None of that conversation has the most important thing ever been raised. Learning to ask questions, being more interested in the individual sitting across from you than you are in just showing your wares. So it's like you learn through trial and error through business. It's like, wait a second. So I found over the course of years that I started showing my portfolio less and less and less and asking more and more and more and more questions of the person I was sitting with. We actually got more involved in a conversation. That conversation resulted in a rapport and me understanding, can I authentically help this individual or can I not? Can I help this company or not? Rather than, hey, Have you realized how brilliant I am? I'm showing you some amazing stuff. Have recognized my genius yet? That's what we're taught, which is there's nothing wrong with being recognized for one's genius, but there's something wrong if that's the only lane we can play in.
Yeah. So I see that you have immeasurable experience. Now that you're at this stage of your life in your career, like what are you looking to call more into your life?
What am I looking to?
Call into more into your life.
Um, I would just say widening the sphere of impact and the sphere of influence to help more people faster. Like it's, and it's not in that sentence I just said. It wasn't like so I get more recognition. It's not about getting more recognition. I don't care about recognition. I care about establishing relationships and lines to more people so that I can help elevate more faster. That's the game. That's the game plan. Um, it's not a recognition game. It's an empowerment game. An empowerment going outward because at a certain point, I think one crosses a threshold where they look and they go, where can I add the most amount of value? You know, and where can I do that most efficiently, most effectively, most in the broadest with the broadest strokes possible. That to me is the game.
Beautiful. Well, it's an honor to have you on and share that, spread that message because I think these channels and outlets and also conscious channel and outlets, like not everybody gets to be on, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you're being shared in a field that it just, it's being sown on fertile soil,
exactly,
which is
exactly.
great. So,
You know, and I want to just interject one other point, which is this. I mean, the stuff that I'm talking about is, it's deep, it's not shallow, but it doesn't get done, and it doesn't ever succeed if there's not actual a sense of fun and having a really good time. I am known for. I mean, anyone that knows me, they know I'm mischievous. That I'll pull pranks. I'll have a fun time. We'll have a great laugh, and we'll challenge things that are considered like sort of the sacred cows of things that are like, oh yeah, no, it's like why is something considered like off limits if we can actually inject more life and have more fun. So I just want to make sure that those listening to this don't get the idea, oh, this is serious business. It's not serious. It's joyous, it's fun, it's a blast. Uh, and anyway, fun is a very, very, very key ingredient. It's kind of like, the way salt brings out the flavor in the food in a dish. You just a little bit of salt and just like all of a sudden it kind of amplifies. Fun is the same way. Fun is the salt of living. So sprinkle a little bit here and there, and all of a sudden you go, whoa, this is really awesome, right? So there you go.
yeah, I love that. And I think it's just, if you infuse that fun into the creation, into the intention, like, of course, like the outcome can only be better than if it's not. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a really good, key ingredient to have. So we're coming towards the end of our episode. We have about 5-7 minutes left, and I would love to ask you a couple more questions about who or what inspires you the most on your entrepreneurial or even spiritual journey.
Um, I mean, basically, I mean, I always was very spiritual. Uh, I mean, literally in my teens, I was looking for spiritual enlightenment. So I studied Eastern religion and I studied different things, and I have found, and my wife is also very spiritual and equally unserious. We amuse one another with our just the lens that we choose to look at life through. But there's that, and I would say, I mean, the spiritual part. There were two parts to your question. I immediately went to the spiritual. What was the other one?
Spiritual and entrepreneurial journey. What, like, who or what inspires you the most currently?
The inspiration. Well, the first designer who inspired me, who was very entrepreneurial, was Herb Lubalin in New York. And then as I started to go through my career, I found Gary Vaynerchuk actually to be very interesting because I think that he was one of the first, in my experience, one of the first. He was just real. He said what he had to say. Whether people, some people didn't like that he cursed that much and all that kind of stuff, but he said what was real, and I felt like he said what many people were thinking, but didn't have the sheer cojones to actually say. But the flip side of that is this: he chose Claude. And that impressed me even more than anything else because he chose someone like I know Claude. Claude and I are really, I would consider us very, very good friends at this point. And if you speak to Claude, she has so much heart and she calls things as they are, but there's so much heart. When you are talking with her, you feel like practically showered with recognition, right? We've all been in the presence of someone where we kind of shrank back. We felt smaller. We felt less relevant, as opposed to being in the presence of someone or a business or whatever where we expanded. Why?
Hmm.
To me, that's the invisible element, and she brings that. You feel bigger, and that to me. So Claude, I love Claude. I love what Gary has done, um, and Damon John has been actually he wrote the foreword to my first book, and Damon, we both grew up in Brooklyn, Queens, not at the same time. I'm older than he is, and so but we had a similar path, and Damon is the thing that I told Damon not too long ago is I said the one thing you always have demonstrated is you never forgot where you came from.
Hmm.
He never he's more wealthy than many of us will ever be. But he's never allowed that wealth or given that wealth the permission to make him numb to where he came from. And I validated him on that and and he chuckled and he goes, "Yeah, I hate that." He goes, "I think people that do that are pigs." Which I thought was great. I was like, how awesome is that? But that's the thing. It's like we'll text each other and he'll take the time out and he'll give me some feedback on this. So that's the other. He never has disassociated himself by altitude, going, "Oh well, I'm up here now. I no longer deal with the people that lower on the rung."
With the peasants.
Exactly. That's right. That's right.
Well, that's yeah. It shows character. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it does.
And
It does.
last question before we go to the close is: what is your vision for the new Earth, the new economy? Right? You see, also here's two kind of like sides to the question: new Earth, new economy. Um, yeah. What's your vision? How does the ideal new Earth economy look like?
Are you talking about crypto? Are you talking about human capital? Are you talking about just like where things are at today in culture? What's the just so I answer it properly?
Well, I would say from a branding, human interaction, culture, transaction standpoint of view.
Completely. The companies that are going to win and win big and win sustainably are the ones that actually recognize the role and value the role of humanity, of those that have their priorities in place, those that are not so prone to, oh, we can automate. I mean, right now we live in an age where there's so much tendency to automate. Oh, we have AI for this, we have bots for that, we have all these things that are being put in place of actual people like you or me who can look, who can conclude, who can feel empathetic, who can understand. What's the value of that? That's immeasurable. Just imagine if you had If I had a choice between two rooms, one room was filled with people that exhibited those qualities that I just described, and another room which was set up with the most advanced, cutting edge AI and bots and all that. Which one do you think I want to be in? I mean, seriously. And that's literally the choices that I think we have to make today. So to me, the new economy is the companies that can think, that can demonstrate, that are not prone to how do we so prone toward efficiency. Let's make it more efficient. Let's make it more efficient. Let's make it more efficient. Let's add automation at every touch point. So that way it's like we've just removed ourselves entirely from the equation. Why should anyone choose to do business with us at that point? And that to me is where we're headed. It is we are at the fork in the road. Choose: are we going to be have a foundation of humanity, or are we going to have a foundation of automatic, state of the art algorithms?
Yeah, very true. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Where can people reach you? How can they find you? And when is your new book coming out?
Perfect. So, Rising Above the Noise, RISING, Rising Above the Noise. I would invite anybody to visit. There's lots of content there. You can subscribe to my weekly newsletter that I put out. You can reach out to me on social media. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. And the book, I've actually created a new holiday as a result. This year we have Black Friday on November 29th. We have Cyber Monday on December 2nd, and we have a new holiday, Rich Wednesday, December 4th. That's when this sucker is actually coming out and live and available. And I would definitely say for those that are get the hardcover, the production values are beautiful. The artwork, it is like going through a gallery. I mean, it literally is like, I mean, if you look, I mean, the basic thing is that you really get to see how this stuff is done. It shows how people have incorporated this into their brands. And it's like, there's just endless bits of art and inspiration here from the greatest minds in the world. Kevin Hart, Frank Zappa, Frank Sinatra, Damon John, Warren Buffett, the list goes on, but definitely risingabovethenoise.com for sure. And I will treat anybody who reaches out like a best friend.
Beautiful. Amazing. What an honor to have you on. Thank you so much for your time, your genius, your insights, and your heart and soul, David. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, man.
All right. Bye for now.